What's up, everybody? Kid Astronaut Podcast, episode 7, with Maggie Brown today.
Hello.
Woo! How's your 2019 going?
It's off to a way better start than I could have guessed.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like I was in a funk. I feel like probably a lot of people felt like maybe they were in a funk the last chunk of 2018. I was kind of in between these ideas of like moving away and starting something totally different, and like something has just kind of clicked into place recently where it feels like things are actually in this really good flow state.
Okay.
And that feels a lot better.
Nice.
So yeah.
What is that flow state for you?
For me, I guess that flow state feels like I'm putting the work in where it needs to be, but not like pushing too hard. Because I've definitely done that before. Like tried to do too many things at once. And
just like burnt out?
Oh, totally. Like I had shingles when I was like 25 because I just like stressed my body and mind out way too much. Okay. At one point, I even like pinched a nerve in my brachial plexus and like lost my whole right arm for a week and a half.
Yeah, my brachial plexus.
Yeah.
Totally. I know exactly what that
like
is.
Right in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I lost feeling in my whole right arm for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I was like, so slow down. Yeah. I'll do that.
You were aware of yourself enough to tell yourself that you needed to slow down?
No. I needed that very harsh reminder, I think, from my body to say slow down.
But you like were able to listen to your body, like
yeah, I mean, I was
you
forced
had that
to.
conversation with yourself.
Yeah, it gave me no other choice, kind of at that point, because I couldn't really do anything else. Like I used to ride my bike everywhere, and I was in school at that time, and so like you lose your right arm, and I'm like, oh. Did
that message like come to you? Like you just heard it, like from your body? Like how did that?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, I got.
It was like a voice.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a voice, and sometimes it's just like, I don't know, feeling, like a maybe? Big red sign of like, slow the fuck down.
Yo, who are you, Maggie? Tell the people about yourself.
Hello, everyone. This is my first podcast thing. So
Ever?
So it's
do
totally
you watch
new.
Podcasts?
I do, yeah. Sometimes I watch more Joe Rogan podcasts than anything else. So.
Okay, all right. I have my feelings about him now, but
yeah,
we can talk about it. All right. Anyway,
but yeah. So hi, I'm Maggie. I was born in a small town in Michigan. We lived there till I was like 15-ish. We lived around a lot of different areas of Michigan. I've tried to count it recently, like how many times I moved when I was a kid, and I think it was maybe 10 times before I graduated high school, and then maybe 10 times since then. So I'm used to moving around a lot, and used to being like this small town kind of lower income girl, and then more recently I've got like this great stable job, and I get this opportunity to teach different like nutrition and mindfulness and movement classes, and I find myself in a totally different life space than I was. I mean, obviously 10 years ago we're all in a different spot, but yeah, it's been really, really interesting to see. So like, what was that? Kind of cycle out.
If you're like, if you don't mind,
yeah,
like take us into you 10 years ago. Like, what did your world look like? Because you're not there anymore, you know.
No, I know, and it feels so crazy to like know that I am that same person, but I'm so totally different.
That's deep.
Yeah, I have a few friends that have known me through some weird shit. And we joke about it, like how can we be the same and yet like all the way on the other side of things. So 10 years ago, I was living in Florida, in the Panhandle. I finished high school down at a relatively large school called Niceville High School, and stayed there for a couple of years after graduation just to like have some affordable college and stay with my mom and my brother. And I was just in this weird group of, I guess, like misfits. We all didn't know what we were doing, and we were all trying so hard to like just have fun and figure it out. And we ended up losing some friends to, accidental overdose or suicide. And after a while, I was just like, this isn't good for me. Like, I was in a really bad spot, and I almost got in a lot of trouble And the boyfriend that I had at the time, we were like, let's go. So we moved away. And
to Denver? Or?
To Silver Plume, Colorado. But you know where that is.
Yeah, what?
It's like, it's
what is that?
Tiny.
I keep hearing about parts of, like, this is now Talk Loud, Michigan. Like, what? Where are we?
I found on Craigslist a High Rockies listing for this cute little apartment. And I called up the couple that owned it. We talked on the phone for maybe a half hour, and in like 2.5 weeks later, we were there. So Silver Plume is up the I-70 corridor toward the Eisenhower Tunnel, and it's right past Georgetown. So they're kind of like the two little towns next to each other. And I worked on the Georgetown Loop Railroad for a while. I did like ticket sales and catering dinners and all stuff.
That's really cool.
It was really fun. It was a really necessary break and reset. And I learned to snowboard for the first time. And I went hiking like all the time. And it just put me back in a spot where I could like figure out who I am and what I wanted to do. And that was really important.
So that moment, I mean, I guess like leading up to now, what do you feel like has changed the most? Like looking back on who you were.
I guess I have more of a sense of purpose now. And
what's your purpose?
It's hard to put it like in a really simple sentence, but I feel like my purpose now is to continue to find out who I am, and through that to like work with people in all different communities to bring more joy and mindfulness both in our nutrition and physical health, but also just in the way that we treat ourselves and others around us. So I don't know. I don't see myself like teaching full time forever and ever, but I really like having that experience for myself that I can kind of sprinkle into conversations with friends and coworkers and colleagues and just kind of see what it does for people. Yeah, it's like those little nuggets.
About yourself?
Well, just that, you know, like you might say something kind of offhand to a friend one day, and like the next week it's changed their perception of something.
What do you mean?
A super recent example, I have this awesome friend that called me to ask like what he could do to help his knees not hurt so much when he was running.
Okay.
And I was like, well, you know, you could like work on some ankle mobility, you can work on some hip mobility and like push, you know, from the core and the glutes more. Or, another totally different approach would be taking this like Thich Nhat Hanh quote of kissing the earth with your feet.
Walking mindfully.
Yeah. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like just allowing that to overlap with the way that you run.
I just posted like, I think it was Thich Nhat Hanh that I learned this from, but I just posted on Facebook like today maybe, like walking, or it was walking meditation, walking prayer. That's what it was.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Like that kind of movement is medicine and it's therapy, and like that's what has helped me figure so much out in my life is like the metaphor of movement. Like where are things hard and frustrating and what I think I can't do, and then applying this like compassionate, mindful approach, and eventually I can do these things that I never thought I could. And so yeah, like that friend,
that's cool.
He called me back like hours later. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. This totally helps, and it feels so much better, and it just makes sense. I'm like, cool. Like those little pieces that just can help to change someone's perception or perspective. So, yeah, that feels very roundabout. But I guess it kind of answers that part of the question of what my purpose is.
No, that was perfect. That's really cool. I've been kind of figuring out like my purpose and like having that internal, I don't know, just like lesson of like I have to create it and I have to live it.
Yeah.
I guess in a lot of ways, like what I'm confronting is my fear of like my purpose. because that feels so like large, and like almost feels like I can't even like figure out the words for it. But I don't know. I like I guess like I like I don't know. The word that comes to mind is challenging myself, but I don't want to live my life like challenged.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out like.
Well, there's joy in challenge too, right? Like to be kind of pushed to your limit, to see where that limit is. And then, I don't know, when I'm teaching a couple of different yoga classes, if I'm like putting people in these hard poses, like how can you make it fun and easy still? Like you chose to be here, you chose to show up. So you know that we're testing ourselves. So what can you do like in your own mind to make that a little bit more fun, I guess.
Do you feel like that's the purpose of yoga, is to test yourself?
That's kind of a big, interesting question. I think in a short answer, yes. To see what we're capable of, to see where we are, and to see how we approach these different challenges without losing that sense of mindfulness and purpose and peace. Yeah. That's what it's done for me, at least.
I guess in my experience with yoga, it's like in the same way, like I had this yoga class where the teacher told us to like stretch, I don't know, we were in this position or something, like as far as we can. And then, in that same pose, it was like, okay, now take a deep breath and stretch further, and all of us were like, whoa. So it's just like, I see it as more like, how far can I like expand, and like step out of my confine, rather than being like, I don't know, I guess test just feels kind of like something's pushing against me. And I guess that's where I was like, I don't know if I like that challenge. But I don't know.
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? Is like everybody gets their own interpretation, and it means something different for each of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see that the phrasing of it maybe doesn't work for you in that way, but it also is like the pressure that we can apply for that transformation, right? Because like nothing changes form unless there is like
something
a significant
happening.
Force. Yeah. It's like a rock to a crystal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you do now, you said yoga. You also teach a practice of meditation.
So Taoist meditation. I have.
Are you Taoist?
I don't know. It's one
like
spirituality that resonates
being, right?
the most with me. Yeah.
Totally. I feel that way too.
Yeah.
Like I read. I have this book actually. It's like the Tao Te Ching.
Oh yeah.
But it's in a comic book form.
What?
Yeah, and like it changed my life as a kid, and I was just like,
I'm gonna need that.
Yeah,
reference.
I'll send
sure.
it your way, because It was like really like, I don't know, I had never experienced something so like, I was like, wow.
Right, that moment of clarity.
Yeah, it was just like,
so
wow.
Nice.
And like the way that the pictures were painted. But anyway.
Yeah, no, for me, it's been a thing that I've resonated with for, I don't know, maybe close to 10 years. Like I've had like that Tao Te Ching book on my bookshelf since, I don't know, 2008, 2009. And it was something that I kind of came across in my literature studies when I was back in Florida still, so like my associate's degree. And it just felt like simple and sweet and yet really powerful and divine, I guess. And it didn't feel like I had to try too hard to be anything that I am not, to feel that kind of a spirituality or presence in something. And so I've always kind of had that in the back of my head.
So.
And then when I had this small studio in a nonprofit co-op, I had this Tai Chi teacher somehow find me. And I forget, like, there's a few different connections. He showed up to the space, and he wanted to teach Tai Chi, Tai Chi Chuan, Temple Style lineage. And I was just like, yeah, that's dope. I want to, like, learn that from him. He's been studying for 40 years. His title in Tai Chi now is like Lao Tse, so like wise one. And
okay.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was like a dude's name.
Oh, yeah. So that's the funny thing within that.
It's just
book.
like that's a.
It just means like kind of old wise man. Yeah. This one's a little bit different. So let's see. Lao Tse for my teacher is Laose.
Okay.
And then in that one, it's I can't think of it right now. TZE or TZU. Yeah.
Lao Tse.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or Lao Tzu, yeah, TZU. Yeah, so that was like...
but is it the same
teacher.
if you spell it? Do you pronounce it the same if you spell it the same?
So that one's Su, I think, and then the other one is Se. So it is a little bit different. Yeah, so like one is like... I don't really know how they would differentiate the levels of the titles like that.
Oh,
but like he... What? Yeah.
Oh, wow. You just broke it down further. But that's crazy.
My teacher is Lao Tse.
Okay.
And then, like, his teacher above that, you know, I don't think that they would still call anyone else Lao Tzu, because it was meant as, like, old wise man, I think. Yeah. Which is part of the interesting history of that book, even, too. Yeah. Bringing it back around, he found me. And so I've been studying with him and working with him in a couple of different ways for the last year and a half or so. Okay. And I started off studying the Tai Chi form with him. So grasp sparrow's tail is one form. And it's really beautiful. And then I got like kind of wrapped up in other life. Like I still was working my regular job and then doing all these classes on the side. And so I pared back quite a bit, and the thing that really stuck with me was the Taoist meditation component, because it's just something I can do for like 5 to 10 or 45 minutes, you know, whatever I have in the day, and just like open up my neck and shoulders and like drop into this space that is blank and yet full. And
did you see, cool. I asked if we could do like a quick one?
Yes, I did.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, we can do that. Should we do that like
right now?
In the middle? All right.
I also want to check with Facebook in a second, just to see if anyone has asked us questions or anything too.
Cool, we can do that.
So, again, what should I do?
Well, we're gonna do it
doing the guided?
Together. Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
That's normally how I do it.
Cool.
This is interesting, the way to deliver this.
On a podcast.
So, yeah, you can do this in a seated or a standing position. Both are extremely beneficial. I really enjoy doing this in a standing position if I'm really trying to, like, energize more. Because then you get that really great connection through the feet.
For 45 minutes?
Well, not always. Most times, no. But sometimes.
But you could.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever
you want. Free life, baby.
Yeah, it's your will.
Life.
Create it. Make it up.
I just did 45 hours of standing meditation. Like, damn,
Never left this spot. Yeah, you're like, that's not healthy.
That's true.
All right, so yeah, in a seated position though, you want to ground down through the hips, allow them to kind of open forward, and then the spine just kind of floats up, pulling tall through the crown of the head. You can let the shoulders just kind of relax away from the ears, let the arms hang heavy. And then in this particular practice, we're going to put the tip of the tongue right behind the teeth at the roof of the mouth. So just to help align some meridian points there. And I have a handful of people that can tell you more about meridians than I know. And you can keep the eyes closed, but typically I have people start like looking about a 45-degree angle down and just focusing on breath. So the most beautiful part to me is how simple this is. As we're expanding the diaphragm in all directions, getting this like 360 breathing going on, filling the low back, filling the low belly, and then pressing all of that out through the nose. And so we get this expansion and then a contraction, and I don't know, in my kind of weird spacey mind, I like to think that that's the same way that the universe like expands and contracts, and however you like to visualize that. Maybe you're just filling a balloon in your belly, but we want that full breath cycle, and that's where we start. And then we can start to open up through the neck by looking up with an inhale and bringing the chin down to the chest with an exhale. Inhaling, looking up. Exhaling down. And we'll do a couple more of those. Next, inhale, bring the head to neutral, and exhale, look to your right. Inhaling through center, and exhaling to the left. And so there's no real beginning or end here, it's just moving fluidly throughout. No need to force or crank the neck, especially. Just find that natural end range of motion. One more for each side. And then we can come into head circles, bringing the right ear toward the right shoulder, rolling the chin down to the chest, inhaling left ear toward left shoulder, up and around. And continuing with that exhale, coming down through center. Inhale up. It's a little funky to do this with headphones on. So hopefully you can still hear me. Maybe 2 or 3 more for this side, and then we'll switch direction. You can come back up to neutral with the head whenever you're ready. And then we're going to move into the shoulders. So inhale, we pull the shoulders forward and up to the ears. Exhale, pull them back and down. And continue with that. Inhale up. Exhale, back and down. Maybe 3 more here. And then we'll switch that direction. So then they'll pull back, up, exhale, forward and down. Let the arms hang heavy, let the hands be heavy, and isolate this motion just into the shoulder girdle. You can shake that one out when you're ready. The next one is an alternation of shoulders.
Okay.
So if you imagine that this part of your body is like a coat hanger, so there's this like...
I like coat hangers. I love coat hangers. Like every time I see one, I'm just like, yes.
That, I've never heard someone say that before. But you can imagine like that rod that goes through the bottom is what is kind of connecting your shoulders. Cool. So let's focus on the left one. We'll inhale that one up. And then the right shoulder just opposes it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And then we're rolling back. So kind of like a backstroke, but keeping the full breath. And try to not let the waist move too much with this. Again, try to keep it right into the shoulders. And this one gets a little clunky for people. So keep the range of motion a little bit smaller so you can keep it slow and smooth and controlled.
I just opened my eyes. You kind of look cool. It's like a Janet Jackson music video. Like,
Basically. There's a guy that comes to one of our classes at the gym, and he was like, I think you guys are going to teach me how to dance. And I was like, whether you want to or not, yeah, that's going to happen. And then you can switch this one to go forward. So same thing, just keeping them opposite. I'm going to try to not visualize myself as Janet Jackson.
I'm singing Rhythm Nation. I'm like, yo, fuck. All right.
It's awesome. And you can check that one out. Bring the hands into center. The forearms are kind of parallel to the ground here. We're going to inhale to open the front of the chest, and then exhale, pull that all in, collapse. Yeah. Inhale forward. Exhale, collapse. I'm going to do 2 or 3 more. And then taking the hands to the back of the neck, right where the neck meets the skull, there's like a little divot in. Kind of, you feel that like occipital ridge, like kind of.
Oh, up here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So cup the hands or the fingers like right into that spot, okay. And then make small circles and pull down. So it's like a little neck massage. Yeah. Oh. There you go.
Whoa.
Right? Who knew if you could do this? It's mind-blowing.
My chakras are I'm like, I'm back.
Right? Ah! Hello, world. Watch out.
This is the key, man. This is the thing.
For real. Alright, and then last one we'll do like small fists to the low back. I know, right? It's dangerous to do Tai Chi with headset on.
You guys can hear us.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. So small circles right above the hips, so just like a little kidney massage. And you kind of bounce with this one.
I always wonder about people's like morning and home routines. So this is great.
Yeah. So you can do this while the tea is brewing or steeping, whichever coffee's brewing. So that's like a couple minutes of Tai Chi warm-ups, and then you would sit like great. After. Good, I'm so glad.
Yeah, I feel like my body is
a little more open,
but I'm also like
calm as well. Right. So that's the beautiful thing to me is like this practice. One is just great for opening up in these like high areas of tension for so many people, right? A lot of us hold our stress right here, like we're literally carrying the world on our shoulders, and so that like couple of minutes just feels a little more free. Right, we're gonna start like dancing in here. But then, you take that into your meditation practice. So that's just the warm-up, and then you sit in meditation for however long you want to. Or you take that into your Tai Chi form practice, and you go through that for however long you need to. And I don't know, it just feels really simple and beautiful, and it helps us to kind of conserve this energy like right here, so that we are less about this like young, go, faster, harder, stronger, better, and more about a little like more intuitive, finding that flow state, trusting it, not pushing too hard, that wu wei, you mentioned it earlier, and that's a huge thing for me that I've learned from a few people, like definitely those books, but then 2 of my teachers here too. And yeah, it just feels like I have a better sense of longevity with this practice being in my life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that was awesome. I want to check Facebook real quick.
Do it.
Can you read so we have some notes from the universe here. I didn't put these here.
They were given to us.
But can you read yours? And I'm going to go grab my phone real quick.
Yeah. So I have this little kind of fortune cookie style one on my mic that says, I love the person that I am. And I'm very happy to see that one there. I also have a little yogi tea tag here that says, the principal ingredient of life is love. And I think that's pretty beautiful and simple. And if you think about like a child coming into the world, I think that's rather appropriate.
I like that.
Yeah.
Wait, think about a child coming into the world?
Right, like ideally, the principal ingredient of that
Is
child
love.
is love.
Are you
Right?
a mom?
No.
Okay. I'm a dad.
I know.
Yeah. No, I love my boys.
Yeah.
They, like, I was hanging out with Mario today, just like, wow, man. And I was making him laugh. And, like, I was like, wow. It was just really all cool.
Good.
I love and accept myself.
Yeah.
That's mine. I need that message, like, high key. Like,
All the
I've been,
time.
at the same token, very, like, you know, hard on myself through this process. And, like, kind of forgiving myself for the times that maybe I didn't do what I thought was my best, you know?
Right.
So that forgiveness and that self-love and that acceptance. I love and accept myself.
Yeah.
But accepting my faults, but also, like, loving my faults. Like you said, like, entering things with compassion.
Yeah.
And just, like, always trying to do better next time, you know?
Yeah, that's the Maya Angelou quote of, like, I did the best I could, and then when I knew, or I forget, gosh, exactly how it is right now, but
I did the best I could until I knew
better, and then I did better.
Yeah,
essentially that.
for sure.
Yeah, same. I mean, we're kind of bringing it back to that, who I was 10 years ago, thought from earlier is like, oof, I did the best that I could at that point, and now I know a lot better, and I can do a lot better for myself and for, like, everybody around me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of don't have a choice, I feel like.
I mean, I don't think there's a choice. I guess there always is, though. You could choose to not do it. You could choose to keep doing the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah, but then you get obliterated by the universe. At least I do.
Yeah, and then, I mean, hopefully that lesson just keeps coming around until you learn it.
I've been noticing patterns, and I'm just like, nope. Like, I spot you.
It's like a glitch in the Matrix. You're like, not going down that road again.
I've had those glitches, actually. I've been in a situation where I would, like, flip through a scene that was happening. Like, nope. Nope. Yeah, it's weird. I'm trying to cultivate that, like, level of, like, confidence and strength all the time. But sometimes I do not.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not there. Sometimes you gotta recharge. Yeah, I hear you.
Well, Facebook, if you have any questions for us, please send them in. I just shared this to my personal page. I just want to make sure that we're, like, tuned in and seeing y'all. Turn up the volume. Can you hear us? I want to make sure that people can hear us. I mean, I hear us on the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Perfect.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it sounds clear.
All right, Becca, if you can't hear it, we'll do some troubleshooting. But yeah, thank you for that meditation.
Yeah.
Thank you for just, I don't know, that, like, this whole first half has been really dope. Like, learned a lot, processed a lot.
Good.
It's already so one of the things that you wanted to talk about, and this seems like the almost deeper part of it, a part of your journey over the last 10 years has been, like, uncovering a Malaysian, like, heritage for you.
Yeah. And I kind of forget sometimes how long ago it did start. Like, I've known forever, like, my whole life that I'm half Malaysian. My mom, I think it's a really, really interesting story. My mom met this whole group of Malay students when she was in college in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And they were at Western Michigan, and she was at the community college, and she just, like, fell into this amazing group of friends that, like, I don't think she really had in her life before. And so it meant a lot to her to just be fully accepted, even though she was different. You know, like, my mom was American, and there was this group of, like, 30 students from different parts of Malaysia there, mostly for, like, finance and business degrees.
So your mom was able to kind of help them to, like, be a bridge to American
definitely.
culture.
And
that's not really talked about, like,
yeah, I know,
the adverse of, like, I don't know, man. I think we should just end all borders, really. Like, I don't know if they're doing any real good, you know? Like, there should just be, like, a world passport.
I mean, I'd I'd be in support of that, I think. But yeah, it's I think it is interesting to think about, when you're coming into a completely new culture, like you're trying to, in this case, better their lives as students and then as business people to support their families. And in some cases, these students were sponsored by companies or by the government to come over to get their international degree. And then they were required to go back and like work for that company or for the government to kind of offset those costs. It was like an investment, right? The government or the company is investing in these students. And so, they'd be at that school for 2 to 3 years, however long it took for them to get that degree, and then go back home. And in that chunk of time, my mom had this like incredible family there. And I don't need to go into too much detail, but my father, she was in a relationship with him for a while, and then he graduated and was supposed to go home and didn't want to. They found out that my mom was pregnant and tried to figure out like what the right thing to do was, but his family wasn't supportive of him being with my mom because they were of different cultures, and he had to come back and work for that company that sponsored him. And I believe it was his dad that passed away while he was still in school here, and so he didn't know that until graduation. Like his other family kept it from him so that he would still finish school. And so all these things compounded, right? And so he went home because that was the right thing to do then, or so they thought. And so my mom went back and moved home into my grandparents' house and just lost touch with like everybody else that was there still. And then me, my whole life, I'm like, okay, well, I know I'm half Malaysian, don't know anything about it. Like there wasn't a ton of information or like cultural groups around the area that I could just go drop into. And what I've come to learn for myself is that like, even though people think I'm something different, right? Like they don't know what my brown nature is. And a couple of the first guesses are like, oh, are you Mexican? Or, oh, are you Chinese? I'm like, neither one of those things. And not being able to have that thing that's like familiar to relate to or to like try to understand that other culture was kind of a gap in my life for a long time. For
you or for other people?
For me. Mm-hmm. And so in 2009 or 10, I guess it was 10, I decided to like Google search my dad's name one day, and I found him on Facebook, and it kind of freaked me out, and I didn't know if I should say anything because he has a family, like he has a whole other life, and I didn't know if that was ever shared with any of them that I exist, and I didn't know like what the boundaries are and like what the cultural etiquette would be.
Is he back in Malaysia?
Mm-hmm.
Or was he?
Yeah. And so in those like pictures of his family, there was his little girl that looked just like me when I was that age. And it was pretty creepy to like look at a screen of a family on the other side of the world that I'm like half related to. Yeah. You
were like in the Matrix.
It was so weird, and I'm like, that's
me.
But not me. Yeah.
So does she still look like you?
I haven't seen a ton of photos of them. So that was like 2010, and I, got some courage to send a super simple message and just try to say hello and see if anything would come of it, because I've always wanted to know about that side of my culture, because I didn't know. And just out of sheer curiosity. It's not like I wanted anything, I don't need anything. It's not like I'm trying to replace this like father figure poster cutout that I've had or anything, but I just wanted to know. And so that was shut down. Like that never happened. It was like his profile disappeared. I still don't really understand what happened there, but it just didn't come to fruition. There was no communication.
Like, as in you send a message and
sent a message,
just disappeared,
and it was gone. And I was like, okay.
So you haven't talked to him since?
So that was 2010. And then 2013, 2016, late that year, I had just had a friend pass away from kind of a freak accident. He was hit in like a drag racing incident. He was walking as a pedestrian, and like a couple weeks after that, I'm still in this weird place mentally, and my mom calls me, and she's like, hey, friends from Malaysia found me on Facebook, and they want us to come visit. And I'm like, excuse me, like, is this real life right now? I just lost a friend, and then this opportunity just like pops into my life that, like, it was this really crazy paradox of being extremely depressed and like grieving, and then like a beautiful opportunity of something that I've always dreamed of. Just how do you balance those feelings, you know? And so I was pretty resistant at first. I didn't think it was possible for us to go. Like, we've never had a lot of money. I've never thought I'd been able to like travel internationally. I'd never even had a passport. I was like, I can't make that happen in a year. And so my mom and grandma were like, we're going to make it happen, you know, whatever it takes, we'll try to make it work. And so we started planning a trip, and I still didn't have any contact with my dad, and I didn't think that this trip was going to change that necessarily. But as these friends started finding my mom on Facebook, it was like the whole crew were freaking out. They're like, oh my God, Betsy, oh my God. And they just got so excited, and they were like offering to let us stay at their house, and like they would take us around. And so my mom and I planned this whole trip, and planned in quotes, because a lot of it was kind of floating around. We bought our tickets round trip. My mom found a killer deal, and we made it work. And this whole time my mom was battling like rotator cuff injury, and so she knew she was going to be having a surgery after the trip, but wanted to make it through before. And so we put everything together, and we got out there. We had a whole month of February for 2018, and we just popped around the country to see friends of hers from 30 years ago that they had not been in touch for like that entire time until months or like barely a year before. And like to see my mom reunited with those friends, like the first hugs, you know, and like the tears and the laughter, it was like seeing a totally different person, you know. I have this new like perception of my mom as a friend, and as like that person that kind of did bridge cultures for other people. And it was really, really meaningful for her and for me, because I got to get this experience of like 20 aunties taking me around and showing me like some of their favorite things, and like what they want me to know about Malaysia and what they want me to experience. And it was like beyond anything I could have dreamt. And eventually we were in the part of Malaysia where my dad lives, and I wasn't planning to reach out because I didn't think that it was appropriate. And then my mom's like, you know what, Maggie, we're here. What if we're never here again? What if you never get this opportunity again? Just say something. And I was like, fine, whatever. My little attitude. And I did. I sent a quick message. It's like, hey, we're in your town. We're staying at a friend's house that he knows. And just tried to ask if he wanted to meet up for tea or coffee or something and meet me. And I didn't expect anything back, because prior experience said, right? And, you know, just in my own head, like having low or no expectations was so much easier on my mental health at that point, instead of like dreaming up this whole reunion and like, I don't know. So it's just easier to think that it wasn't going to happen. And so the next day I was driving myself to one of the limestone caves in the area, because like I've always been a nerd about those and always wanted to go. And so I'm driving like 2 hours into the rainforest by myself, and I get this like patch of service, and a message comes through to my phone, and he responded, and he said, hi, it's great to hear from you. I hope you're well. I hope your mom's good. And just like, it was very polite and kind. And I never expected anything. So to get that message was pretty meaningful, on top of everything else that I had been experiencing in that month of feeling like I have an extended family, feeling like I do have roots and connection to this place on the other side of the world that I could only dream of before. And like putting my feet on that land was a transformation for me. Like there was a point where like I could not stop crying. Like we were going from the airport to the house we were staying at, and I just kept looking around. Like we were on like a plain road. It wasn't anything like majestic necessarily, but I'm just like in awe and crying in the front seat, and the guy that was driving us was like, oh God, I don't know what this lady's doing. But it was it was, you know, something that I never thought was going to happen. And I mean, so he and I exchanged those messages really briefly. We never ended up meeting, and I don't think that he would have been ready for it. And I don't know if I would have been ready for it, I guess, either, because there's some work, I think, to be done there. It's been a really long time since maybe he even thought about me. I don't know. And the fact that he has a family, and like I want to be respectful of that, but I also want to know my half siblings, you know. So it's like I'm kind of dancing this line of like, now that I've opened this door, like where else can it take me? So yeah, I've been kind of grappling with that transformation for the last year. So this month is the like anniversary of that trip with my mom, and so she and I are like sending pictures back and forth to each other, like super nostalgic, like I can't believe it's been a year. And I don't know, I feel like I'm the same person, but I also feel like I've found this new version of Maggie that is like more Malaysian and more cultured, and like wants to go back all the time and spend time there and work there and teach there, and like really integrate that part of me into this part of me. And it's so hard to put all that into words. So like I have, you know, friends that I haven't seen in months, and they're like, so what's up? And I'm like, oh God, you know, just mind blown. Yeah. No big deal.
Where do I begin?
Yeah. And so it's
tell them to watch the podcast.
Yeah.
Next time. Just be like,
I will.
right,
Yeah. Here's a link real fast.
You want to know?
Watch it. Get back to me. Yeah. Yeah. It's been crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a lot, but that definitely sounds, I mean, alright, well, just as a father, like, I don't know, my boys being close to me is really important, and I'm not in anyone else's situation, you know, so I can't speak on, like, you know, what that could feel like or be like, but I just don't see myself personally, like, I don't know, I'm just very close to my sons, you know. But yeah, everyone's story is different.
Exactly. And like I've never, at least in my conscious brain, I've never held like resentment or anger toward him for that decision, because I thought it was logical. You know, I understood that he had responsibilities, and that this, you know, like I was an accident, and you know, and I was like, okay, well, that's just how it had to be. And I was like always very nice about it, and like, it's okay, I totally understand. But there was a part of me that I kind of uncovered that has been really hurt by it, you know, and I realized that there are responses that I have on occasion that stem from this like lack of approval or lack of affection or encouragement or something like that, you know. And I'm realizing those responses, and I'm trying to like catch myself in that moment and say, okay, well, like I don't have to feel that way anymore. I don't have to feel that hurt anymore. It's okay. Like whether or not I ever have a relationship with my dad is fine, I think, at this point. Like I think I would be just totally okay. But the fact that we got to have that brief interaction, and at least, you know, like I got to say my piece in a couple of ways of like, I wish that you would have been able to meet with me, I think that we could have been really good friends.
You texted him after, or what?
Yeah. I was like, I think that we could have been friends. I think you would be proud of me as your daughter.
Did you get back to that one?
Mm-mm. Yeah, but like, what can I do? At least I said what I had to say.
Yeah,
there's no sense holding on.
You can do.
Yeah.
Other than let it go.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard.
It is kind of hard, but I mean, that's why I have like all these other practices in my life that like keep me in the space of remembering that like I've done my best, and that's what matters. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's an interesting story, I think. And while we were over there, my mom and I are like on this adventure together, and it was so much fun. And then there was definitely some days where like we were not getting along, but that happens. And there were moments that I would look at her and I'd be like, is this real life? Like, are we here right now? Am I awake? This isn't just a dream. Like, I'm really here. It's not fake. It's not a trick, So, yeah, I'm in awe of the way things play out sometimes. Like, if this opportunity had come to the Maggie that I was 10 years ago, I wouldn't have approached it with this same kind of, like, inner peace, I guess. I don't know. That sounds so weird sometimes to say that out loud about myself, because there is this layer of peacefulness, but then underneath sometimes there are these layers of, like, what the fuck? Of, like, being a crazy girl and having too many thoughts at one time and running through a to-do list, and, like, somehow that can be filtered out and just come back to, it's going to be okay.
Do you think it's necessary or good to, like, because, like, I kind of have this, like, back and forth of, like, maybe I should dive into, like, the uncomfortable and, like, spend time with it and, like, really, like, engage it to, like, actually get to the root and heal it. And I think that's kind of maybe, like, in some spaces where I want to go.
Yeah.
But also, I think there needs to also be the balance, which is, like, the Tao, You'll find your way in the middle of both of those places, like, yeah.
I mean, I agree that there is a lot of healing in doing that uncomfortable work, because it is very uncomfortable, but I don't regret a single second of it, because I think that we can learn a lot of lessons from that place of, like, darkness. I think you and I talked about that.
What's that?
Because you did a tarot card reading for me that time, and we were talking about this, like, weird darkness or depression kind of a state, and how a friend, Emmy Brady, she said to me that, like, she tried to think about it as, like, what lessons can I get from this experience? Like, what can I learn from that darkness, and how can I come to understand that, like, shadow, I suppose, and not allow it to take over, but to understand, sort of what not to do, or, I don't know. It's complicated and, like, kind of circles back on itself, I think, for me, but, yeah, there's a point where it's too much, like, if I had tried to just, like, sit and journal my way through all of those emotions for a month or a year, like, it's not going to help me after a certain point. And so that's why I came back to meditation, because it wasn't anything besides breath, I could do that. I could breathe. I could sit there and breathe.
And in a way, you're still working through those emotions.
Yeah. Like, letting that energy move through and just letting it be whatever it is, however crazy it comes out, or however sad it comes out. Like, okay, shake it out. Let it be there. Let it be really uncomfortable. And then, like, look at the aftermath and say, oh yeah, I'm glad I moved through that. I don't know. It's a funky space to be in. I feel like I've been in my head a lot the last year, I guess most of my life, but the more that I try to just like let things be the way that they are, whether I like them or not, like I can be comfortable in chaos. I can be more accepting of the discomfort, I guess, the hard work.
So it's almost time to wrap up.
Yeah.
Like, I like to keep it at about an hour.
That was quick.
Even though you could talk forever, you know?
Oh my
There's
God.
always more stories.
Yeah.
And I hear it. Oh, wait. Are we? We might even be only at... I'm so confused. Does this mean that we're only at 30 minutes?
I mean, we started a little after 5, I guess.
Yeah, I thought we started at like 5:05. How are you celebrating yourself?
Ooh, good question. How am I doing that? I'm trying to be more playful. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Like in my workouts, you know, like I'm lifting heavier weights and I'm like doing this weird weird nat stuff, but like I'm not taking myself too seriously.
Nice.
You know, and I want it to be fun. I want it to be progressive. I'm like going to these booty yoga classes that are like something I never would have done before, but I really, really enjoy it. And it's like sensual and powerful and a crazy good cardio workout. And yeah, just trying to enjoy this amazing place where I live. Like, I chose to move out here, and yet I've like kept myself in the city so much. And I went snowboarding with my best friend today, and I'm like, fuck yeah, like this is what I want to be doing more. Like, enjoy the beauty that's here.
I want to go snowboarding.
Yeah.
I need to go snowboarding.
I'm so bad at it, but it's so fun.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. Like, I don't have to be good at everything.
I mean, how long like, I could go this month. I might do it.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. Where do you go? What's your favorite mountain?
I don't know.
I need to get a board and a pass.
Yes.
And boots.
Yes.
And clothing.
Yeah.
So I need the whole gear, but other than that, I'm ready. So where do you go?
So today we went up to Winter Park.
Okay.
I've also been to A Basin, I think only one time. And then when I was living up in Silver Plume, that tiny little town, I went to Loveland ski area, and that's where I did like my first chunk of lessons and fell a lot. But that was like really comfortable for me because it wasn't a huge place. I mean, it's like more spread out, but it didn't feel as like busy, packed out with people.
So what's that experience like for you, like going up to the mountain? Like, do you have your own board?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just got some stuff from a friend that was selling her older equipment. When I first moved up there, though, like that first year that I was in Colorado, I just like bought random used stuff from anybody that had it as cheap as I could. And I don't know, I don't really have like a routine with it. Like, this is a new thing for me. Today was the first time I've been in like 2 years, I realized. So I'm really not good. But
are you like slow? Do you like, take your time?
I'm super slow.
Oh, man. All right, maybe we won't, because I like I haven't gone in a while, but I'm definitely cruise? Just like,
yeah, that's like, cool.
Fuck it.
Do it. I just like, I've fallen.
We'll have to have a meetup time.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, guys, back at 3:30.
Right.
Because I'll go everywhere.
I try to be careful with it because I've broken my wrist on a like bicycle fall, and so I was like, I don't want to fuck that up, you know.
Yeah,
I don't want to break anything right now. But also just trying to like have that control again, because I don't have the muscle memory of it anymore, and so I'm like, okay, so toe edge feels real uncomfortable today, and then back on that heel edge, and then I accidentally found myself going down moguls, and I was like, this is not where I want to be at all.
I hate Winter Park. Like, get me out of here.
Yeah. Like, can I just roll down the hill at this point? That would probably be more graceful.
Save me.
Exactly. Yeah, so I don't really have like a routine or anything amazing built around it yet, but that's something that I want to spend more time doing. And I'm really looking forward to trail running, like when it gets warmer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I used to hate...
Do you like running?
I used to hate running. I still don't really like it. That's why I want to run on a trail.
I hear like if you're doing like different elevations, it's a little better than in the city.
It's more interesting to me. And I would rather run on dirt than concrete or asphalt.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so it's like changing landscape, and there's, you know, like maybe there's some challenging terrain that you have to navigate. But
do you have some cool shoes?
I
got the right running shoes?
I've been advised to get, I think there's Zero shoes. It's like really thin, like minimalist soles. So yeah, that's what I'm probably going to go toward.
Would that hurt?
No.
It's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to. No,
just don't get like the feet.
I had those ones for like hiking, and I'm not crazy about them anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you like them at first? What was the...
I think... Yeah, I kind of liked them at first, but like the ones that I had, they just felt like really hot if I would be hiking for a long time. And I also have like really long toes, I feel like, so they weren't comfortable for me.
That's pretty funny.
I know. But yeah, the Zero or whatever, like those minimalist shoes, the idea for me is just like to run very lightly on my feet, kind of coming back to that like kiss the earth with your feet idea, so that it's minimal impact on the joints and more about like landing with control and lightness. Yeah.
I like stump around my house, like bow, bow.
Right, like everyone can hear you coming.
Yeah, someone told me like I have roommates and they were like, "Bro, you're so loud."
You're like, I'm just walking.
I'm just walking. So I need to start like walking.
Yeah, check it out.
That way.
Yeah.
I'm just like sometimes I'm like.
Right, like a little ninja in the house.
Like,
no one knows you're here. Yeah, like let me know next
I'm a
time.
Gemini. I'm balanced.
Okay.
I like to keep it on both sides.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to. Speaking of like fatherhood, I'm going to an event. My friend Ryan Fu, who is actually one of the owners of this space.
Right on.
He's throwing an event called Brethren tonight, and it's like the topic is fatherhood. But yeah, that theme has been so deep for me, like in my personal experience. Yeah, like that situation of like, I definitely didn't want to have kids. Like I wasn't ever expecting that. Like some fathers are like, or some men are like, oh, I can't wait to have a baby. Like I was never like that.
Right.
So this experience being put in my life has been definitely like, maybe like a little parts, like equal parts like shocking and equal parts like awesome, equal parts like terrifying, and like equal parts like traumatizing in some ways too. Like just like this whole experience of I don't know, just wanting to be honest about my experience and also like being supportive of like, well, I got yeah, it's just been a crazy year for me. I have two separate mothers for my children, Maru and Z, and that's been really difficult too. Like, just in those relationships of, yeah, I don't know, like wanting to do my best in this situation, you know, for them and for myself. But yeah, the fatherhood thing has been really deep. Like, my family, we went to a therapy session for the first time ever, and like it was just weird. Like my family hasn't really been together like that, and I wouldn't say my dad has really been like that close in my life either. So like being this experience of like being a father while also not really knowing what that role looks like, and like wanting to aspire to be better. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot, you know?
Yeah. A lot of layers.
Yeah.
And, I mean, when I was home in Michigan for the holidays, I saw this billboard that kind of cracked me up, because I felt like it was in such a weird placement, like, not even in the city. It was, like, on the country part of the road. But it was, like, you know, a multiple choice question for parents. And it was, like, go ask your mother. The answer is no, or no because I said so. And then there was like a blank answer, or like a fill in the blank sort of a thing. And then at the bottom it was just like, there's no wrong answers in parenthood. It's like we're all trying to kind of figure it out. Mm-hmm. And
so what did it say? It said go ask your mother?
Yeah, I can't remember like exactly what the choices were, but it was like a multiple choice question for parents, like which thing do you say?
Okay.
And then like the theme being like there's no wrong answer as a parent. Like if you're like doing your best and like thinking for the best interest of the health of the child and the family and yourself, we do the best we can with what we know, right?
Yeah, someone else told me that. And it was like very like healing to like hear that at the time, because like I said, I'm just always like like trying to push against this wall. Mm-hmm. And sometimes like that's not the best way to expand, it's just like the same thing. It's like in that same yoga class, it was like, well, everything can be yoga, like it's off the mat where the true yoga begins, you know. So just kind of thinking about that and adding that moment of breathing to those really tense situations is like saved my ass probably across like dimensions and lifetimes. I'm like, I didn't make that choice. Like I could feel like something being like, haha, you solved.
It's like you unlock the next level of some video game or something.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that. I mean, honestly, like my mom and I, we're really close now, but there was a point in time where she and I were not like as close as we should have been or wanted to be or whatever. And that was like my stubbornness, her stubbornness, but the more that I came to appreciate her as an individual person, the more that I came to like forgive these hurts or whatever I had of like what our relationship was or how she was as a mother.
What kind of was the catalyst for that, you said?
Like especially being in Malaysia with her and seeing her around all of her friends and like seeing her in a totally different light.
As kind of a real person.
Yeah, like not just my mom, Yeah. And I think that's
going to be so weird, like when my boys are old enough, like I wonder how, like what our conversations are going to be.
Right. Yeah. I think that's like an ideal as a parent, at least in my eyes, of like being able to have an individual relationship with like between parent and child. It's not just like authority figure, like submissive or whatever, but let it be equal. And that's
kind of not really talked about, like especially in my community, I guess. Like the way that I've grown up has always been kind of like, well, I'm your parent, I said so, and I've always like challenged that. And I feel like that has always been kind of thrown back in my face, to the point where I definitely like, the only time I'll be like, hey, to my boys is like when I don't want them to like pull something down or, but other than that, it's like, where do you want to go and what do you want to do,
Yeah. Sounds like you're doing the right thing.
Trying to.
Yeah.
I can only hope for that. Hope for the best. If anybody on Facebook has any questions, please send them in. We are just, I don't know, this has been a really cool, like, I think through your story and through like the conversation, we were able to kind of reach out on a lot of points,
Yeah. I know, it felt like I had a broad range of potential topics, and then I was like, I don't know, we'll just see like how it all comes together. Yeah. Felt like a good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
I hope that people like can watch these later and like just get something from it, Like so far every podcast has been really cool, and like I set the intention that like starting today we would be kind of like in this new like more emotional space with the podcast, like more real with the conversations, and I feel like we have exceeded that mark, friends.
Nice.
I was just like, damn, that was a real conversation.
Yeah, I like that. I'm really glad that I could be here. Thanks for having me.
So I have three things to do before we log out. I have a plug to make, but do you have anything that you want to share? Anything upcoming?
Yeah. So I've been teaching with the MoveNat Denver crew. It's a natural movement gym over at 8840 West Colfax Avenue, so just a little bit west of Wadsworth. And on the 24th, we're having a Jiu-Jitsu escape and evasion workshop, which sounds super cool, right?
Are there any other like styles of martial arts classes? Because I want to do that.
So that is like a partnership with one of the local jiu-jitsu gyms in that area.
Okay.
And then at the MoveNat Denver gym, we have a handful of different kinds of classes going on. And so I teach a Chi Flow class that's a little bit of Tai Chi, a little bit of dance, a little bit of like strength training. It's a weird fusion, and I really like it.
Nice.
And
if you have a flyer or something, send that to me.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will.
Sweet.
And then, my Tai Chi teacher and I are working on some videos to share on Channel 12. It's a local channel here. And those will be like a world wellness series. So, like,
cool.
3-minute blip on yoga, Tai Chi, traditional Chinese medicine, nutrition. So, yeah.
Nice.
Looking forward to that.
You should put those on YouTube, too.
Yeah, we will. We totally will.
Because I don't know, I like YouTube as a platform.
I do too. I get a lot out of it.
Alright. So, this is from a company here in Denver, Wise Ways CBD. And they sell everything from salves and oils, teas, bath bombs, all using the science of CBD. Yesterday I went to this cannabis event. It was like a new, like, dab tincture kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw your thing.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I went and did this like CBD aromatherapy thing, and it was like a chakra balancing aromatherapy, so all the essential oils were like tuned to the chakras. It was awesome. But Wise Way CBD, hit them up at wisewaycbd.com. Free shipping, 10% off when you use the code ASTRO. Astronaut, at checkout. So they are great for migraines, muscle soreness, insomnia. CBD is a derivative of cannabis, I believe, but it doesn't have the same psychoactive qualities.
Right.
So, there is healing properties in cannabis. So if that is something that interests you, wisewaycbd.com, 10% off when you use the code ASTRO. Out here, things. Also, please go to the link in my bio and grab your own Kid Astronaut shirt. My pink ones are currently sold out, but I will be making a new order here soon. So get both. But Maggie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This has been awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you to Reggie the robot. I think I need to change his circuit. I wanted him to be ready to go today, but I guess he needs a little bit more time.
Recharge.
Yeah. He's been charging for a while, but we'll finally get him up, hopefully. So,
awesome.
Thank you to everyone who watched. Yeah.
Right on.
That was it.
Thanks.
Sweet. All right.